Earlier this week, a green expo marker exploded all over my teenage son's pants. His favorite pants. Baggy jeans that would have fit right in my 90s high school days, although he always rolls his eyes when I tell him that. He was understandably very annoyed at this stain, and he took them straight to the laundry room as soon as he got home from school. He had paid good money for those pants. He scrubbed them with alcohol and stain remover as I advised, and looked online to find any other remedies. He washed and scrubbed and washed some more for the whole afternoon. That night, he emerged triumphant. The stain was gone. As I watched him put in the work, I had to wonder, would he have gone to that much effort if I had bought those pants for him? Welcome to the Family Lab, where we investigate and experiment with all things parenting and home management. This is the final episode for this month's theme, How to Teach Kids to Manage Money. So I thought it was only fitting to invite one of my dearest friends, Molly Liggett, on the show today. For over a decade, we've been experimenting together and conspiring together to figure out the best ways to teach our kids how to manage money. Molly has 6 kids that line up with my 5 almost exactly. My last is right in between her last 2. We met at church when we both moved to Colorado with 4 kids apiece, and our oldest kids were just 9 years old. So at that point, we were just both starting to think about how to approach money with our kids and hadn't really done anything. So we got to start together. We had similar goals and values, but very different levels of expertise. Molly has a degree in accounting, and I got the only C of my life in my family money management class. So little imbalance there. So I've leaned on her a lot. Together, we researched and experimented with different ways to handle allowance and chores, and we compared notes during innumerable playdates, hikes, and neighborhood pool excursions. Because of this, our systems are pretty similar, but we have enough differences that I thought it was worth having her in here too, so you can kind of see different tweaks. This conversation we had was really kind of a catch-up for us because it's been a while since we've talked about how it's going. So we talk about how much we pay our kids, what we expect them to do around the house, what they pay for themselves, and what we buy for them, what we do when they owe us money, and how we encourage them to save. So I want to start just by talking about how our kids earn money, because that's kind of where it all starts. And do you remember what you were doing back then, like before we kind of started commiserating and figuring it out?
No, because I feel like we did the same thing at the same time. Like we
Yeah.
implemented money in a similar fashion. So before I had little kids. And so we had some ideas about money, like we would give blocks of money for vacation, be like, hey, here's $30 and you get to spend this however you want. But we hadn't really gone into allowance or any earning really.
Right, right. And when we started paying our kids, we started with like a pay per chore because that seemed to make sense. It was like, just to teach them that you earn what you kill kind of thing.
Hmm.
And it made sense, except that then it was like impossible to manage.
Hmm.
And I feel like that was kind of where we are when we both started talking about
Yeah.
what to do because, paying him for doing jobs around the house. I don't know that we ever had a super consistent system, but the problem was that I would try to have like a payday every Saturday and then I'd never have cash. And so I'd be like, okay, well, I owe you this. And then I'd keep track of it. And then I'd lose where kept track of
Hmm.
it. It was just like a logistical nightmare keeping track of it. We had charts and
Yeah, we did chore charts. But also, I would give my kids cash and then they wouldn't bring it when we were shopping. And so then I felt like that was a missed opportunity. I'm like, okay, I guess you can buy it now and charge it back. Like, I don't know.
right.
It
But
was a
then,
mess before.
yeah, it still made sense to me, like that's how it should work, that they should get paid for what they did. But I couldn't run it.
Yeah. No.
And I know some people can. And so, like, if you're watching this and you're one of those people who can, great. And that probably does teach them the best that they can actually earn money for the chores they do, things like that. But as soon as somebody gave me permission to do allowance, I was quite excited about that.
Yeah. Well, in our house, I do still kind of feel like if you live here, you should contribute. Like, this is what it takes to run a house, and we all need to pitch in. So I was not as big on paying for chores because I would just assign out chores and everybody has a chore that they're in charge of. But the allowance system worked great because it did not tie their allowance to their chores, because I have some kids who are great at doing chores and some kids who really aren't.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I mean, there's a controversy for a reason because you don't want them to feel entitled like they should just get an allowance. And the last two episodes really have been strong about that, like that they shouldn't just get an allowance for being in the family, that it should be tied to work. And so there is this conundrum, like you don't want your kids to think that they just get a free ride and they get money for just existing,
Mm-hmm.
but it's also really hard to manage a chore system.
Right.
And like some things are worth putting in the work. And so like that's why I went back and forth at the beginning a lot because I thought like, well, I do want them to learn a work ethic and learn that money comes from working. Um, but that doesn't work if your system breaks down.
Right.
And so I had to kind of think of a different way to tie the money
Mm-hmm.
to chores. And so the because it also makes me really mad if I'm giving them money every week or every month. Now I do it every month. Um, and they're not helping out around the house because
Mm-hmm.
then I just get mad.
Yeah.
Um, and so I started, the way we resolved that is that I started charging them if I had to do their jobs. So they had their responsibilities, but then if they didn't do them, they still had to get done. And if, I'd give them a day after I asked them to do it, or depending on the chore. But then if I ended up having to do it, I would just charge them an hourly rate, which I just do $24 an hour because that's easily divisible by 60.
Yeah.
So
Oh, that's a good one because I
yeah,
usually do 25.
yeah. I
No,
I
I do
started out
20. I do 20.
I started out with 20,
Yeah.
and then I was like, oh, I'll just do 24 because
Yeah,
it's
that's a good idea.
4 hours, and anyway.
Well, and I always say like I charge a half an hour minimum. Better do your job.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so did we have that idea together?
I don't know.
I feel like we've both been doing it for a really long time now.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It actually has worked. Like we have done this chore system and this allowance system for more than 10 years.
Yeah.
Like the same. So Whitney introduced me to an app that records and just automatically puts an allowance for the month. And I have not moved from that. Like it is still working.
Yeah. And it wasn't for a minute, and then I got it working again. So
Oh,
yeah, I was able to download it
nice.
again.
Oh,
So
good.
so yeah, so we both use Bankaroo. Um, it is free and it doesn't look flashy or anything, but
No.
it sure works great.
And it automatically puts in an allowance every month. My kids know when it's coming. Then at that point, you're just the bank.
Yeah,
So
and it allows you to put some aside for savings and some aside for giving. So some kids use that more than others in my family, but it's there and it's really nice. You can have it go automatically, but I always let that be up to the kids.
me too.
Um,
And I also love because it's a log of what they spent their money on. So I have some kids who just money burns a hole in their pocket. And so for them to be able to look back and be like, oh yeah, I did go to Target and Starbucks and oh, okay.
right, right.
Because otherwise they're like, no, I have money. I'm like,
Yeah, and then we're not messing with spreadsheets and
right.
things like that, which actually it's a great skill for kids to learn how to use a spreadsheet and how to track. But and maybe if we had one or two kids,
Yep.
we would be able to do the chore system
Sure.
and pay per chore, and we would be able to have a ledger and teach all that stuff. But we both have a billion kids, and so simplicity is key.
Well,
This.
and for my family, I really wanted them to learn how to manage their own money.
Yeah.
And so for me, that means my kids don't get very much. They just get a play amount to learn with. So we just do $1 for every year. And so my big kids, like, that's not very much if you're 15. Like, that's $15 for the month. So I do give opportunities for them to earn money and to do chores.
So this might be where we've gone wrong and you've done it right, because I feel like we've given our kids too much money, and maybe that has contributed to some of their poor spending habits. So we gave our kids that, like, their age per week,
Mm.
which is 4 times what you're giving yours.
Mhm.
And So I have like at different times felt like my kids had too much money in their pockets. But I wonder if we've made them pay for more than you or if we've made them pay for equivalent things. Cause that's where
Yeah.
that's, it all has to balance. So it doesn't really matter how much money you're giving them as long as you're making them pay for, like
Right.
an equivalent
Because I know
amount of
you made
things.
your kids pay for more
Yeah.
clothes and more of their fun activities, where I was kind of like, if they were invited to something that by a friend, I usually paid for that.
Okay.
So their allowance was literally spending money. So we paid for their clothes. We gave them a budget. So if they wanted to go beyond their budget, then they had to use their own money. But it's not usually from allowance. Like we did not give them very much. So I just always counted their allowance as play money. Because
Okay.
I
Yeah.
had a mom who told me when my kids were little that when she went grocery shopping, she would let them hold a quarter. And if they were good, then they got to buy like a little treat out of the spinning machine at the end.
Okay.
And so I kind of thought this was the equivalent of that. Like, oh, yeah, here's your money. You can do what you want with it. And it solved the issue of my children begging for things or like crying in the checkout line because they wanted something. Because if you have money, like, go ahead, buy it.
Right. And that has been the biggest benefit of having them have money to spend is that I don't have to make any of those little niggly decisions on
Hmm.
like whether they even sometimes when I've been good about it, even when we go out to eat, if they want a soda, I would make them pay for the soda.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Cause I don't know. I grew up, we never got soda. And so I'm
Yeah.
like, I just wanted to teach them that like principle, like, no, that's a frill.
Yeah.
Like that's an extra thing. It's not healthy. It's not good for you. But if you want a treat, then you can use your money to buy the soda. So,
Yeah.
so I guess that's where we differ.
Yeah.
So I made them buy everything. So, um, I, yeah, like they buy all their clothes. I buy them one pair of shoes for the school year.
Hmm.
I buy them sports equipment because that's expensive and I want them to be active. I don't want them to not choose to do a sport because it costs money.
Right. Yeah.
So there's that. But they buy all their gifts for their friends for their birthday parties.
Oh, yeah. So
They buy gifts for
fun.
each other. They buy all of their clothes, except for school uniforms. Like I'm not going to make them buy school uniforms. So then I would pay them up until they were about 12. I would pay them their age every week. Ezra is still getting $10 a week because he's 10. And then once they once they hit 12, I just started paying them $100 a month each kid.
Oh,
So every kid gets $100 a month. And then I immediately take out their cell phone because I want them to know how much their cell phone costs.
wow.
So they
Okay.
each they each spend $35 a month on their cell phone. That's about what it works out
Hmm.
to be with our family plan. And so they really get $65 each. But I make sure that they know
Hmm.
that they would have 100, but just so that they know that that's costing
Yeah.
money and that they're paying for that and that I'm not footing the bill for that.
Yeah.
So then everything else is what they use for if they want to go some exclusively spend it on fast food.
Some too.
Which I'm not happy about, um but but then they don't have clothes money. I don't buy them clothes. So they have to kind of budget that and save that from month to month and
Hmm.
figure out, planning ahead for clothes and stuff like that. And I just play their sports fees.
Hmm.
Um, but basically anything else, any of their entertainment, things like that. So if they want to earn more than that $100 a month, they can do chores, and I always have a big list for them to
Hmm.
choose from. Um, I usually pay by the chore because they wised up early that if I'm paying by the hour, they're going to string it out and
Right.
make it last a lot of
Of
time.
course.
So that's the other thing I pay for. I pay for doing extra chores. So nothing that is related to taking care of themselves. Um, None of their room, their bathroom, their laundry,
Right.
they're not getting paid for that. Um, doing the dishes, any of that stuff, cleaning up their own messes, obviously not. But if I'm like, need a drawer cleaned out. One in particular really loves to have organizing projects because they're like very finite. And so that's what he always chooses. Like he'll clean out my fridge, he'll clean out a pantry, he'll do whatever. Um, I also used to pay for babysitting when I needed
Mhm.
babysitters. But I would pay like based on what they did. Like if they cleaned up, um, there would be like a little small flat rate if they were like staying home to take care of kids instead of like going out with their friends,
Oh,
like
yeah. Yeah.
a baseline. But if they put the kids to bed, they'd earn. If the kids went to bed, they would earn
Oh, yeah,
something.
that's what I've done probably from you, a suggestion. But paying kids to be good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially when their siblings are babysitting. 'Cause
Right?
yeah, that
Yeah, that
breaks
can be
down.
hard.
Okay. So now I've blabbed for a long time. What are some other things that you pay your kids to do?
So I pay my kids for extra chores. I also let them pay each other. So I hire out things that I don't want to do. And so I do allow them to hire their siblings to do things. Like everyone hates having the dog poop and
Yeah.
cleaning that one up. So
Yeah.
I have one kid specifically, I don't think they've ever picked up dog poo, but
They just pay their
yeah,
siblings
they'll
to
pay
do
their
it. Yeah.
siblings.
And then they can negotiate the rate. Like,
Well, and I have some kids who love video games and they want to spend all their money paying for stupid. I always think it's stupid to pay real money for fake money on like Roblox or
yeah.
whatever it
Yeah.
is. And so we have a rule that you have to put however much you spend on video games, you have to put that amount in savings.
Ooh, that's good.
And so I have some kids who have really racked up some good savings because they like to buy video games. Like even if they're just buying a new game, like
Uh-huh.
the new Madden or whatever it is, they have to double that money. And then, so that's the way they spend their money. But otherwise, getting money, they earn it. Um, we pay for more things, but we usually give them a budget, but they're for basic clothes. So if you want
Yeah.
the coolest new tennis shoes, then you have to pay for that yourself. But otherwise, I think we pay for everything else.
Yeah. And so I don't think either way is right or wrong. I don't know that mine have learned more about spending because they're buying their clothes. Maybe they have, I don't know. But they're still aware in your family of what the expenses are and what the budget is. So
Yeah.
I think both ways work. And that's kind of the point here is, there's not a right way.
Yeah.
But those are two options depending on how you want to do it. Um, yeah, and then we're both keeping track of all that spending on Bankaroo. So we're paying for it, like with our credit card usually,
Hmm.
and then they're just deducting it. And might have gotten really good at doing it themselves. I
Yeah.
just
Mine
hand
have
them my
to.
phone and they just because I don't want to be messing with that.
Yeah. And something else that we do is we do incentivize our kids to save their allowance. And so if they put it in long term savings, we'll match it dollar for dollar. And so I have some kids who really utilize that, and I have some kids who could care less and have a zero bank account for savings.
Yes, and we've done that too. A lot of the things, who knows which of us came up with first,
Right?
because we've just been doing it all along together.
Mhm.
But it is interesting to see like that we're not all the same.
Yeah. And which things stick?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that is interesting.
I have also paid Molly's children to do things around my house. One in particular, because my youngest and her second to youngest often want to earn money together for their own little schemes or their, riding their bikes to the drugstore or whatever. And so sometimes they'll just come up to me and ask for some chores to get money, and I've paid lots of my kids' friends to do stuff like
Oh, I have too.
eating.
Weeding is a
Yeah,
huge
yes.
one. One day we had a friend over and she outpicked my kids so much. She picked every weed in the backyard and she did such a great job. And afterwards, her parent called and was like, "Oh, was this true? She said that she earned this money. Is this okay?" And I realized afterwards I probably should have asked and made sure that was okay with them. But she was so excited to get that money. And my kids were like, but we're out there doing it. But
Right. But that's awesome. Like she's probably over all the time wanting to
yeah,
fill bags with weed.
right? Just has to tuck the others into it.
Yeah.
It's a win-win.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's great. And yeah, I've had some like organize things. I've had them, just wash windows. So we've also had our kids be entrepreneurs together. The first one I think was Lego camp.
Yes.
And that started when our oldest were, I don't know, probably 12,
Yeah, maybe
11 or 12. And they just started hosting Lego camp. They invented a whole structure and had probably like 20 kids usually
Yes.
over. They made bank for several summers.
Yes, and the kids liked it too, and they
Yeah.
got to do projects and have food that was themed.
They learned so much about budgeting and running a little business. It was fantastic. So that was kind of the start of their entrepreneurial days. And
Yes.
then they had a screen business for a while.
Uh-huh.
It didn't quite stick as much. Like I feel like they could have made a ton of money,
So
but
too.
they were kind of lazy about it.
I have been trying to get Nate because somebody knocked on my in-laws' door because they didn't have a do not disturb sign, and they were selling do not disturb signs. And I thought it was hilarious. I was like, "Nate, just walk down our street and knock on people's door. Like, this is hilarious." Yes.
And disturb them.
I'd be like, "I have something for you." So I'm working on that business idea, but it's available.
That's a great one. That's a great one. And yeah, like right now, one of my sons has a hat business that he has been sewing hats and sewing beanies with
And
his friend.
I want a beanie so bad.
Well,
I'll immediately make it
I know where
uncool.
you can get one.
No, I haven't asked him. I was like, "Oh, moms can't get this. That's not cool."
Yeah. Well, it depends. Some cool moms can.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure he's not going to turn down the business. So
That's true.
yeah. So yeah, it's wonderful when they start trying to come up with ways to make their own money, and we highly encourage that. Oh, you also have a couple ideas that I always meant to do but haven't. You paid your kids to read books about
Oh,
money.
yes. Yes. So I have an accounting degree and I wanted my kids to have financial literacy. So every summer I check out every finance book from the library. And they start with little kids' books that, just talk about budgeting or what earning money means or ways that you can do it. And so I would just put sticky notes with a dollar amount on each of the books for every level. And so it was always a great opportunity to have them read books that would teach them something, but they earn money because my kids are always looking to earn money. And reading was a really easy way. I actually did expand last year.
Okay.
So I expanded to, I did like history events. I did manners because I found some manners books
Nice,
and
nice.
I thought that would be helpful.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just finance books, but I still stick by that, especially those teenagers to have that laid out and to have that kind of knowledge that's not from your parent, that is actually coming from a book has been very helpful. At least
Yeah.
so far.
Yeah, I always meant to adopt that, and then I always forgot to get books for the library.
Well, last time-
And also, you pay for grades, right?
Oh, I do pay for good grades.
Okay. And I was always torn about that because I was like, well, I want them to learn for knowledge's sake, but it turns out I should have been paying for grades all along because I think my kids would have gotten better grades.
Yeah. And again, it depends on the kid.
Yeah, but I think all of mine could have.
Yes. And it is good motivation.
Yeah. So how much do you pay for grades?
So it depends on what grade they're in.
Okay.
So for my elementary school kids,
Yeah.
they have a trimester system. We said $100 seems reasonable for elementary school. So we paid $33 per trimester. If you get all A's, you get $33.
That's great. See, yeah. And I don't know why I always just like the A is the reward itself. I don't know why, because none of my kids thought that was the reward,
Right. Yeah.
So I probably should have, I may have had more successful students if I had been paying for grades. So live and learn,
Yeah.
except the ship has sailed. I don't know.
You have a few kids left.
I do have a few kids
Yeah.
left. Yeah.
Because Johnny
Yeah.
has been my most
Motivated.
Yes.
Yeah.
When he heard he got paid for good grades, that kid was like, I'll have all A's for the rest of time.
Yeah. I mean, and it does pay off because it helps them get into schools and
Yeah.
it helps them get scholarships and it,
Well, and if you are getting an A, you probably did retain that knowledge.
So I do use Bankaroo still, but I mostly use it for my 10-year-old who doesn't have a bank account. The others, I mostly manage all their money in with the app for their bank accounts. So I'm transferring money directly to their bank accounts. Now,
Mhm.
the only exception is if they go into debt, because you can't go into debt
Right.
in there. I don't let them go into debt for frivolous things, but sometimes there's a reason that or they make a mistake and
Mhm.
they owe me a lot of money. So there have been times when I do let them go negative just to make sure I know what they
Yeah.
owe me.
So I had a child who had a speeding
Yeah,
ticket.
that's a good example.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that child was in the negative for a long time.
Yeah, and mine was we had some car accidents that I
Mhm.
made them pay for half of, and that's when they went. So it's a rare that I let them go negative,
Same. Yeah.
but when they go negative, that's when I use Bankaroo
Yeah.
so that I can keep track of them earning back into the
Mhm.
black. But then when they are positive, um, I'm just mostly managing that through both the Venmo and their bank accounts. So sometimes if it's just a little bit, I'll just do a Venmo request. But for the monthly transfers and stuff, I transfer directly into their bank account.
Well, and I still use it. So my older kids are in college or have jobs. And so they do have their bank accounts that they use,
Mhm.
and they mostly just use that for their spending. And they don't really touch their Bankaroo, but once in a while, my son will say, "Hey, would you transfer all my money from my allowance into my bank account?" And that's when I'll do that. Or otherwise, they just kind of let it sit because it's not very much money. And then when they're with me and, I can still pay for things. So
Okay.
we've continued to use it the entire time. I did cut them off at 18.
Yeah.
My oldest daughter said, "Do I
18 or
still—"
graduation?
No, graduation,
Okay. That's what
graduation.
we
So I cut
yeah,
them
that's what
off
we
at
do too. Yeah.
graduation, and because my oldest daughter asked if she still got $20 a month, like, no.
Yeah, and I think with it being more money for my kids and for them using it more to spending it on more things like their clothes and all that stuff,
Yeah.
they need to have more access to it with their bank account. So that's why we don't really use Bankaroo much for the older
Yeah,
kids.
that makes sense.
Um, so the other thing I use Bankaroo for is if I'm doing their chores. If I do their
Ah,
chores, that's where I subtract it and make it
yeah.
negative because then I just keep track of that for a month. And sometimes there's just like a really bad month where one of my kids is just not doing their stuff. Or if I have to like I'm not uh, if I have to go in and like do triage and just clean one of their bathrooms or something, that's what I'm like
Mm,
charging them and stuff. So that's when I use Bankaroo. And then when I go to pay them their allowance, we settle up every month. Um, and I say, well, this month you're just getting $40 because I've done your dishes for you this many times, or I've done cleaned your bathroom or whatever. So I do use that's the other reason I kind of go negative in Bankaroo for them
yeah.
is if I'm doing their chores, because they're not having a balance in Bankaroo. Anyway, if that makes sense. Then we've gone to a system where we have a check-in every month and we go through all the different categories. We talk about their physical health, we talk about their intellectual pursuits, just their education, um, their spiritual, their social, and then their money and technology use. So we just cover all those bases. We do it in that order every time, and we talk about all those things, and that's when I we settle up and pay.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I should do that.
it's it's great. Okay. Okay, well that's a lot longer than I thought to talk about our earning, but that's kind of a big part of it. And it
Yeah.
also kind of envelops some of the spending.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like we did cover most of the spending. Do you have any rules based around the kids' spending?
We have a couple of rules. So if you're buying a treat, you didn't get to buy it with allowance. So we have a pool that we go to every
Oh.
summer, and if they wanted to buy treats, they had to earn that money.
Oh,
Because
okay.
otherwise my kids at first
They
were just
do.
buying so much
I
candy and
know.
so many treats.
Oh,
So
that's a good rule.
we did have to make the rule that you can only buy treats and candy with money you earned, not allowance. And sometimes we make some.
Yeah, and I've always struggled with that too, like, so it's just been kind of just generally, like, I monitor how much they're spending on candy and, like, once a week you can buy candy or whatever,
Yeah,
like, so I just try to I had a friend who was just like, you can only buy single serving
right.
candy, and
Yeah.
that was their rule, so that was good,
I
you just
know,
have
and
to
I kind
kinda
of fell
adjust.
off because once the kids could ride to the gas station and buy candy, then they would buy what they wanted. So
Yeah,
it was really just kind of a poor rule, but
yeah, but I don't know, you
I
just
know.
do the best you can, and that's a lesson they learn too, that then their money just disappears,
Yeah.
and, the other thing is some of my kids have learned to buy secondhand and be really smart with their money because of it. So I've actually they've learned a lot about buying their own clothes. So that's we've been really happy with that actually. Some make better decisions than others, but I feel like with them buying their clothes, that has been a good amount. There are just some times when I'm like, are we giving them too much? I don't know.
Yeah.
Um, But we also do have high expectations, and my kids have complained, they're like, "Well, my friends don't have to buy their own clothes," and the way I started referring to it with them to make it make sense is I would say, like, "Here's your budget for the month." I don't say, "Here's your allowance,"
Mm-hmm.
because that does smack of entitlement, you know?
Sure.
And so I just said, "Here's your budget for the month, and spend it wisely, and, this is what you have to spend on any of your entertainment, any of your needs, all of those things." Um, and then if they complain about it and they're like, "Well, my friends don't have to pay for," then I'm like, "I can take over your budget. I can take that budget back and I'll spend the same amount that I'm giving you, except I get to make the decisions." So it's just up to them on how much autonomy they want with that money. So I'm empowering them by giving them their
Mm-hmm.
budget. Um,
This reminds me of this because I've been dying to try this. I have about half the kids on board, but I want to try that for Christmas.
oh,
I want to give them their Christmas money, like before Black Friday, and be like, here's the money. And what I want you to do is pick out your own presents. And I want,
optimize this
right?
money.
Like you buy whatever you want. And then I want you to wrap it up and put it under the tree. And then I want to be surprised on Christmas on what I got you.
Oh,
Isn't that so
that's
fun?
so interesting.
I have almost all of them on board, but I have one or two who are like diehard Christmas
You
fans.
could do both. You could do both,
Do
right?
both.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like you could just let them do whichever option
Yeah.
and see who's happier with their Christmas presents. That would
Right?
be interesting.
Wouldn't it be?
That's a great
Oh,
experiment.
I know. I'm so excited. I also really want to do just a trip instead.
Yeah, that's what we're doing this year
Uh-huh.
because we're going to go to Cambodia. So,
That's going to be so cool.
yeah. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about savings. We both match 100%, anything that they save, up to when they leave the house.
Hmm.
And so this is the deal of a lifetime. And some of our kids take us up on it more than others.
And I tell my kids that,
Yeah.
like, you will never find faster money than doubling your money.
Yeah. And we do not set limits on how much you can make. Like if they want to make $1 billion,
Hmm.
well, we don't have $1 billion to match, but like if they want to make a bunch of money, we will match that.
Now, we do have the stipulation that if we're matching it, it's in their long-term savings
Yes,
and
they
that
don't
they
touch
can't,
it.
yeah, you can't touch it till you're 18.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Same with us. I want to talk about like a few things that I don't I don't know if we've done right. Like we don't make our I make our kids pay for so much, but I've never made them pay for gas because it's just so much easier to just give them our like Sam's Club account
Hmm.
and they get gas that way. So do you make your kids pay gas?
I don't make my kids pay for gas, but I do make them run errands for me.
Yes, same here. Same here. And they do.
And my kids do.
Yeah, and I pay insurance too.
And I
But
pay
sometimes
insurance.
I wonder if they would have learned more if that would have been a good learning opportunity to make them pay for gas and insurance, or
I
at least
know.
part of insurance, just to know what those costs are.
Right.
Or I should have at least communicated that better about how expensive insurance is.
Right.
So
Well,
that's
especially when
something
you
I
have
could
a
do
kid
better.
who is getting a speeding ticket. So we did tell him if your rates go up, you pay the difference in the insurance.
Okay. Yeah,
And
that
he
makes
has.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. And ours hasn't gone up with the accidents because they have each had a one
Yeah.
forgiven. So
Well, and his got marked down a lot. So he just got 1 point. So I don't know that it went up very much.
yeah. And we did make them pay for half of the repairs, half of the deductible when they each
Yeah.
crashed our cars.
Yeah.
Yeah. Each of my two drivers have had some fender benders.
And
So.
one crashed both
And one crashed both. And
at the same time.
at the same time.
Very impressive.
And also hit a deer. And then the other one just has had one.
Oh,
But
nice.
yeah. But yeah. Yeah. So that's fun. But yeah, we just made him pay half the deductible. That seemed to be a good enough lesson and a good enough deterrent. I mean,
Yeah.
the deer happened after that, but that was not his fault at all. I think we still made him pay for half the deer. Yeah. And it's just part of life.
Yeah.
Like,
And sometimes
just,
it's an accident, but
yeah.
it still happens.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, we did just as a lesson. So
Well, and one of the reasons why we decided to pay for the car and to pay for the gas is because we wanted to be able to take it away. Like we wanted it to still be, it was ours.
That's true.
It did depend on good behavior. It depended on circumstances for that child. And so we felt like using our car and our gas was an easier way to do that.
Yeah. And neither of us bought brand new cars for our kids. Ours is driving the van that, we just passed down a van. And our kids have shared that when there's two drivers or,
And we have like a student Toyota Camry that all the kids have driven, the same one.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, you go to our high school parking lot and there are some crazy fancy cars in there. So I don't know. There's a balance. Like, are our kids spoiled because they have a car to drive? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, it's hard to know whether you're giving too much or too little. And it's a hard balance. It's a hard game to play.
Yeah.
But I don't know. You just do the best you can and course correct if you feel like they're getting spoiled. I don't know.
I know.
Because, they're.
Well, because yours is different because Jonas went on a mission. But having kids go to college, like that has been an interesting line to walk of which things are we paying for or which things are we expecting her to pay for.
So the only other thing I wanted to talk about was investing. Do you have your kids invest? We have not done that yet.
So we made it an option and we did open an account for one child and that child's money has doubled, which is incredible when you're 10 and you have $700. Also, you get, like Max, he's been getting $10 or $11 a month. So I have one child who is a super saver that is absolutely motivated by money. And so he does have an account set up for investing. And we did a long-term calculator for him. Like, okay, if you never touch this again, what is this going to look like for 65-year-old Johnny? And he was so happy. He's like, I can't believe that. I'm going to put some more money in there. So it was highly motivating for him to be able to see his money grow, to see his actual account. It has not so far motivated my other children. So.
And is that just a custodial account that you have?
So we just opened.
What is it?
Yeah, we just opened like a stock account. I don't even know what it is.
Okay.
They did it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's something that I want to start looking into with my kids and, but we have not done that yet. So that will be an experiment that we're planning to do, with whatever kids are interested. Just kind of look into that a little bit.
I would like to do more of that too.
Yeah. And, even give them the option of doing a Roth IRA, especially the ones who have jobs and work. They could put some of their paycheck into that. We just have not dabbled in that at all, but I feel like that's the next wise step to look into.
Although I didn't want to tie it up in a retirement account when they're young. So
they can use it for education.
Yeah.
Too. So based on the conversation I had with Richard Iyer earlier in this month of finance, that kind of helped me clarify what I think we're going to do once college starts. So we originally said earn half of your mission. So a mission is about $10,000. And so that's what we were telling our kids. But then we're like, that doesn't really make sense to have them pay for a mission to like go serve people. And
Yeah.
I never really was like, I wanted them to have some skin in the game and to feel like they were,
Right.
and have a goal to work toward. But once it came down to it, made more sense for taxes and stuff for us to pay for it. And then they would have, that would eat up all their savings, and then they're at college with nothing. So what we've decided now is that we'll pay for the full mission. That money is still there in his savings account, the $10,000, because we matched the 5,000 that he earned. So he has that $10,000. So we're going to then have him pay for half of college, half of his tuition. We'll pay for um, his room. His college is, he's going to an inexpensive college, so that's very doable for him. I don't know what we'll do if any of them go to more
I know.
expensive colleges. Yeah, because your daughter can't pay for
Yeah, my daughter goes
half of her
to,
college.
and she even goes to an in-state university,
Yeah.
and she would not be able to pay for half her college.
Yeah, I mean, this is another place where there's no right answer.
Although I just heard somebody who was saying that they decided that they were doing thirds, that they were paying for 2/3 and that they wanted their child to be in charge of a third because that was about the amount of a federal loan. But that if their child got any type of scholarship, that reduced their third.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
I
that's
love that
part of
idea.
earning it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, for
because
sure.
I have had some kids who just haven't been that interested in applying for scholarships. And I felt like maybe we needed a little bit more
That's why
incentive.
those are some of the reasons that partly for ownership of their
Yeah,
college, like the knowledge that they're getting too.
right.
So I want them to have some skin in the game for that. And yeah, the incentive to get scholarships. Um, I think there's a lot of good reasons to have them pay for part of
I
their
think so
education.
too.
So that's kind of what I think, we're just on the cusp of this. So that's going to be our plan, is that he'll pay for half of his tuition. It may be a case by case basis with
Yeah.
kids based on where they go and things like that. But I do want them to have some skin in the game. And then because he saved that, um, we'll pay for his housing, but I'll have him pay for the incidental. He wants to pay for all of it. Like
Really?
yeah, he's like, I want to be on my own. I want to be
Oh, good
like
for
our
him.
oldest. I think that's maybe the only child who's going to do that. He didn't even want us to pay for his mission. He wanted that to just be gone, and he has to start from scratch and pay for everything. And I'm like, no, let's give you a good start for
Yeah.
getting back into the real world. So we're still like talking to him about that. But if it's up to him, he's like on his own, and
Wow.
he like really likes that self-sufficiency.
Yeah.
But that's pretty unique, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I had heard of people, and this was our original plan for college, was that the parents paid for the first semester and then they reimbursed for A's and B's. And that then, depending on the program, then children have skin in the game to at least get A's or B's or C's, depending on which class it is. And so we thought about doing that as well.
Yeah, that makes sense too. It's also good to be generally fair with kids, but some kids just need different things and are better with money than others. So like there's one that I'm kind of walking back on some of the independence because he is not making good choices, and I'm kind of panicking about that and think, okay, I need to micromanage his spending a little bit more and just teach him a few things along the
Yeah.
way. And so some have more freedom than others.
And some
Some
of my kids like expensive things.
Yeah.
So those kids, their money doesn't go as far.
Yeah. Yeah. So like anything in parenting, it kind of has to be customized a little bit, and it's not always going to be totally fair, which is tricky with money.
Yeah.
But honestly, it wasn't with me and my family. I think I had scholarships, and I paid for more of my own expenses than some of my siblings did in college, and I don't care. Like,
Yeah.
my parents, like, that's up to them. Like, I just think it all comes out in the wash, and being too concerned with being exactly fair with all your kids is not real life,
Right.
even with money.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
I agree.
So, well,
Should we tie it up with something amazing?
what's amazing?
I don't know.
A song.
Rap battle.
A rap battle.
No, you'll win. I can never remember any word.
We should have just brought lots of cash and we could have just
Oh,
done it with some rain. But
well, did I tell you that I'm trying to stay off the internet? And so I've been trying to learn things. And so I just like made a list of things that I might be interested in learning. So I was learning how to do card tricks.
oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Would you like a card?
Yes, we would like to end with a card trick. Yeah, why didn't you prepare that for this?
I know. I had to stop because my hands got sore.
Oh my God. I'm guessing you can see why Molly and I are such great friends. We both love to learn new things and we're constantly experimenting and comparing notes. In fact, you should all find yourself a Molly to make it through those parenting years and beyond. We have big plans to be crazy old ladies together, and we both wish you the best of luck navigating the world of money management with your kids. Thank you for joining us for the Family Lab podcast. Special thanks to my podcast manager, Kimberly Hansen, for all the magic she does to get this up and running. And as always, thanks to my mom, Susan Singley, for playing the theme music to my podcast. She used to play this all the time when we were growing up, and to me, it's the soundtrack of motherhood.